Hey everybody, Philip aka the Sultry Seagull here, and today I'm going to be doing a bit of a tutorial on how to learn to fly close air support in the A-10. So firstly and most importantly, if you're new to flying jets and have no experience with it, I suggest you create a local game with bots that you can actually practice on. So in your main menu, hit the cooperative button on top here, then go down to create local, and in there I will show you one of my favorite maps for practicing with the A-10 is Kashan Desert Lodge. So once you select that down here, add the map and hit the deploy button. So up against the A-10 now, we're going to request a pilot kit, and then press E to get into the cockpit. Give it a 30 seconds or so, a few seconds to warm up before you start taxiing. So while it's warming up, basic keys, I use a keyboard and mouse. Some of you will use a joystick. If you use a joystick and throttle setup, you're going to have to set up your own controls. Personally, I use the standard keyboard and mouse setup. So W is basically your thrust, yet you use to stay airborne and also for taking off and whatnot. Then A and D is your rudder controls, A being left rudder, D being right rudder. Then I use the arrow keys, keyboard arrow keys, forward arrow key and back arrow key for taxiing around the runway, A and D for steering while taxiing. Your mouse, obviously, push it forward to pitch up, pull it back to pitch down, move it to the left to roll left, move it to the right to roll right. Left mouse button, fire your cannon on the nose, and left mouse button, fire whatever weapon you have selected. Now you select your weapons with the 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 keys, 5 being bombs, 4 being rockets, 3 being laser guided rockets, 2 being your anti-air missiles. 1 obviously is just your cannons, nothing else. Any of the other weapons selected, you can still fire your cannon using your left mouse button. Okay, then another important feature with planes, helicopters, jets is holding the control button and using your mouse to look around freely. This is extremely important when you're up in the air, both for scanning the ground for ground targets and also in air-to-air combat, looking for the other enemy plane when you don't have visual of him in front of you. This is extremely important in gaining the initiative in air-to-air combat. Also, you have the C key, which looks directly behind the plane. This is important both in air-to-air combat and in close air support of friendlies on the ground, because it allows you to see the effect of your bombs behind you when you're pulling up out of harm's way. Right, that out of the way, we're going to taxi to the runway. So using the forward arrow key on your keyboard, you start taxiing, and the A key to turn to the left. Now, if you're part of a CAS squad in an online server, obviously, you want to make sure you're always in communication with your squad mates to make sure that when you're taxiing and preparing to take off or land, that no one else is on the runway or preparing to use the runway. You do not want to have a collision on the runway. It's a bit awkward. Right. We're now on the runway. Make sure you're lined up down the length of the runway. Takeoff procedure is basically when you're ready, hold W down. You'll see the thrust percentage going up on the left side of the HUD. When it hits 100, you will start rolling. And with the A-10 especially, you need to tap D as you're moving down the runway just to keep yourself lined up. For some reason it seems to pull to the left. Then as you're reaching the end of the runway, pull up with your mouse, and we're airborne. Simple as that. Now looking at the map, oh, we've got an enemy jet overhead already. That's a good start. Missed with both my AA missiles. Now another important thing with CAS is when you've used up your AA missiles, got him, he's burning. When you use up your AA missiles, change to another weapon or press 1, 3, 4 or 5, whatever, it doesn't matter, because whenever you get the enemy plane into your into that circle in the middle of your screen, like you can see here, you will lock them and they will hear you locking even if you've run out of missiles. So they will know you're behind them and they will take evasive action. So you do not want to have that on if you're planning on using guns. If you want to sneak up on an enemy plane, best thing to do is switch to another weapon or switch to cannons only, so you're not locking them. Sneak up behind them and take them out with your cannons. Right, now when it comes to engaging ground targets, personally, my favorite tactic is to get altitude. So we're talking about 700 to 800 meters. And when you're at that altitude, basically to circle the area of interest. So as you can see, I'm on my side like this, and I can look out the side of the plane. There we go, we got enemy armor below us. So we're going to switch to bombs because we've got quite a good group of them, and I am going to dive. And once the bombs are away, and we've got some hits there, now I'm going to swap to rockets. Again, climb, get some altitude, line yourself up, and come in for a strafing run. And I'm not sure, is this friendly? Yeah, we've got a friendly jet up there. The key thing with CAS is give yourself plenty of time to line up on your targets, and the best way to do that is to get altitude and distance and line yourself up perfectly for your run-in. The other key thing you need to learn is when you really have to disengage from an attack. Plenty of times when starting, I plowed into the ground because of my tunnel vision on wanting to kill a target. Yes, obviously one of the other important factors you got to think about if you want to fly CAS, especially in PvP or deployment service, is predictability. You don't ever want to be predictable. If you get into a pattern of attacking from the same angle over and over again, chances are that a human player is going to put a SAM up your ass when you least expect it. So this is something else you need to train for, and this is something else you need to think about when you're practicing in these bot servers. You know, they're not going to behave the same. Humans are not going to behave the same, obviously, as the bots. The bots are pretty dumb. They come the same way over and over again, and it becomes pretty predictable. So this is another aspect that you need to consider. Time to head back to base and land. One of the more important parts of flying a jet in Project Reality. Being able to get back down to the ground and rearm without crashing your jet. Basically, this map is great because it's massive and the runway lines up perfectly with the edge of the map, as you can see here. So it gives you lots of room to start your approach. Basically, as I'm approaching, I'm giving W bursts, keeping it around 30 to 50% as I come in for final approach. Once the runway appears, tap off completely, point the plane down towards the end of the runway. You might need to give it a bit of a burst here and there, and at the last minute flare the nose nicely like that, and you're down. And using the forward arrow key, transition smoothly into a taxi, and we'll pull off to the left here to rearm. As you can see on this map, I'm taking you directly to the rearming point. Each map is a bit different. Basically, you're just going to have to ask people or taxi around until you start seeing your ammunition go up, as you can see on the bottom left of the HUD right now. As I said earlier, remember, talk to your teammates, make sure no one's coming in for a landing or wanting to take off as you taxi onto the runway. Make sure it's clear. Make sure you do not collide with another plane, because that becomes very awkward and embarrassing. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this video. Let me know if I missed anything out. If you've got any more tips or suggestions, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'd love to learn more. I by no means think that I am an expert at flying CAS. I just wanted to share the few things I've learned along the way, which aren't necessarily obvious to everyone. It certainly weren't obvious to me. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this. And yeah, we'll see you next time. I'll leave you with some more footage of some CAS runs.